Good evening, everybody. My name's Margie, and I'm giving a talk tonight on meditation. So, when we talk about meditation, we're talking about us engaging with our mind. And so we do need to know what the mind is about in order to know how to meditate. So what is the mind? So the definition of the mind, from a Buddhist perspective anyway, is that it's clear and knowing. So clear means that the mind itself has clarity, a luminosity, expansiveness, and space. So it's clear. Well, that's the term they use for the mind to describe this function of the mind, or the way the mind, what it is. So it's not physical, it's a mental experience of clarity, luminosity. Also the mind knows things, so it reflects objects that are presented to it. So it cognizes. So, and we're all pretty aware of that because we're all having thoughts and we're all cognizing all of the time. So this is like if an object comes to mind, the mind reflects that object. That's the ability of the mind to reflect the object. So the mind doesn't have much personality other than that. We tend to put a lot onto our minds. But from a purely, let's say, scientific point of view, our mind is consciousness and it cognizes. And I think that analogy is a really nice way to think of the sky as like the mind. It's got this expansiveness, this luminosity, this spaciousness that objects can arise within. And so, in Buddhism we use analogies a lot because they help us try and conceptualize, think about philosophical or spiritual thoughts that then we can then learn to meditate and meditate on. So another analogy they usually use for the mind, another one they use for the mind, which I think describes more our everyday kind of mind, how we experience the mind in the everyday, is like an ocean. So if we think about the ocean has extreme depths, lots of depths. And up on the surface of the ocean, depending on the conditions, it can be calm. But if there's a storm coming over or lots of wind, the waves are whipped up on the surface of the ocean, and the seas can get incredibly rough. Big swells and storms and lots of waves, lots of energy sort of churning on the surface of the ocean. But it wouldn't matter how big that storm raging, deep in the depths of the ocean, a kilometre down or however down, 500 metres down or even 4 metres down, it's unaffected by the storm raging above. So that's another analogy for our mind, in that the surface of what we experience with our mind often is like the surface, is like the waves on the ocean. We have a lot of the waves in the ocean are an analogy for the discursive thoughts, for a lot of thinking and activity that happens in our mind. And so we often are just experiencing this surface level part of the mind. We don't go deep into our mind, we don't access those peaceful, deep states. So, in a way that's, we then have some control over our mind. Like we can then learn to calm our mind so we can have a much more calmer mind. So, and that's the aim of meditation, really, is to calm those discursive thoughts, that energy, those storms, which really are the surface of our mind, and access deeper, more peaceful states. So how do we cause this storm within our minds? That's really what I'm going to talk about today, really. So what we do to cause our storms for ourselves is that we constantly are creating negative mental states. And often we don't even recognise them as negative mental states. We just might think of them as normal mental states. And so the negative mental states I'm talking about, we judge a lot. We have these thoughts, we're thinking all the time, and we're projecting out judgments, complaints, blaming, or we're projecting them internally. We might be, I'm not good enough, I'm afraid, I'm no good. We could be doing both, flipping between one and the other all of the time. So if you think of these mental states, blaming, criticising, judging, and then turning that blame, criticism and judgment into ourselves and then back and forth, you can understand from an ocean, you think of the energy that creates, so that's how you have to think of the mind. The mind is always moving. The mind it's not a static thing. The mind there's energy behind our thoughts. And so this energy builds within our mind, just on the surface, not deep. And it builds the swell, and it builds the waves. And that's what our mind states become like, a life of their own. And they become towering over us, so that we feel so overwhelmed by these mental states. We feel that they're either us, I'm bad, or we feel, there's no separation, we have no power. We've whipped them into this massive frenzy. Nobody else has done it. You might blame and project that somebody else has done it. And certainly circumstances external to us have contributed to it. But it's how we think, it's the kind of mental states we whip up within ourselves that causes the energy to build and these mental states to overwhelm. And then we call them things like anxiety, depression, And we see them, and they're burden, and they're heavy, and they're consuming. And we might go from depression to anxiety. As we focus in, focus out, that might happen. And also they can cause physical sickness, and I think even science is saying that now. Our mental states, our energy, impact us physically. So not just on the mental plane, as we know, we label these things anxiety, depression, but also cancers, autoimmune disorders, different sorts of sicknesses. And because they are so habituated, because we're so used to them, because we've identified so strongly with them, because we keep feeding them. So, another way you can look at them in a way is like we get very invested in them. And to keep the ocean analogy going, it's almost like they're octopus tentacles, and they've got suction caps. And we can't stop those thoughts. We keep going back, and then we go back again, and we go back. So we are invested in these negative mind states, and we externalise them as well. Well, I'm depressed, there's nothing I can do about it, or, we can try and take some pills or things like that. So we become very locked and become very convinced, that that's how things are. So then we have to, we're here tonight and we've all experienced, I'm sure, certainly I have, these feelings of being totally overwhelmed, totally powerless, totally down, totally heavy from our own mental states. You like to blame a whole lot of factors. But, from a point of view of meditation, it's about trying to get some of that control back and trying to, again, back to the ocean, if the conditions are right, certain conditions, the storm will blow up. But if that air, hot air or cold air or whatever's happening and the wind meet across the ocean, if those conditions aren't there, there is no storm. There's calm oceans. If the conditions aren't coming together, then there can be no waves. There's certain conditions that cause those waves to be created. Same within our minds. There are certain conditions that cause our minds to become disturbed, to overwhelm us, to seem more stronger and more powerful than we feel we can manage those thoughts. They start to manage us. Because we give them that power. We think they're us, or we think, they are so strong. We give away all of our power to them. So, really what we're here to do tonight is to really try and understand them, to gain a little bit of power back. It's first a little bit of knowledge, and then you get that knowledge and then you contemplate, you test that out. Is that true, what she's saying? Can I relate to that? Or, am I going to, I don't, I'm going to discard that. I don't believe that. And that's fine. That's totally up to you. And then if you do contemplate it, then you go to the next stage of your meditating. And then you test that out. Oh, did that work? Did that lessen the control of my discursive and negative mental states? So anxiety, I think, is a really good one to think about. I think, it's a very common experience. Everybody at some point experiences some level of anxiety or fear. It's a mental state that can really take over really quickly. So one thing that the Buddhists say about negative mental states, especially ones like anger, anxiety, pride, jealousy, all of these ones, and they feed off each other and they all help each other, is that they are an exaggerated mental state. So they don't exactly accord with reality. And that's probably why they rise up so big and seem so strong. We've created them like that. We've given them the big story. We've given, again, over our power to them. Not intentionally, not knowingly, but these mind states themselves are exaggerated. And we just don't recognise that. So again, that's a bit of a hint to how we can start to get a bit of control back. We can test that out. Are these mental states exactly as they seem to be? Because I'm not minimising the feeling of anxiety or depression. I'm not minimising that at all, because, like I said, they are very powerful mental states. Physically, mentally, they're debilitating. They're powerful. They weigh you down. They make you want to scream, make you want to stay locked inside. They are powerful. So how do we get some of that power back from them? And so let's examine them. Let's be brave and courageous and have a look at them. See what's going on in our own minds. What is really happening in there? And look, we are so habituated to particular mental ways of thinking and seeing things and reacting. This takes time. It's just little bit by little bit we start to be able to, oh yeah, that's me going off again. Oh yeah, just hold on. I don't have to go down that path because that's me habituated to that path. I know where that thought train ends. That ends with me feeling really shit. Or check out the thought. Think of what you're thinking and check it out. Is that true? And I think anxiety is a really good one, because anxiety is actually about what if. We actually think it's about something happening to me now and it's making me really anxious. But it's more often than not, it's what if that thing happens to me, then I'm really anxious. Often the point in the time when you're having anxiety, you might be in your bed, you might be in the shower, you might be walking, and you're experiencing a state of anxiety about something that may happen. So what is the reality at that time? Is that thing happening? Or is it your mind thinking about the thing that may happen that stirs up a wave on your mind that you experience as a crashing wave of anxiety? And then when that triggers off, then all your central nervous system goes off and off you go. One leads to the other. You've created a perfect storm. And I think the pandemic really showed that. A pandemic is a very scary thing. There's often a basis for fear. A pandemic, a virus that we can't see, that we can catch, that can be quite deadly or debilitating, is a very fearful thing. But was it the virus that triggered people to go off on toilet paper sprees, panic buying? No, that was the thought of something happening. That was a totally created mental panic based on the pandemic, but a totally made up mental panic. What if toilet paper runs out? Actually had nothing to do with the virus, nothing to do with them being sick. It had something to do with what was going on in their mind. Related to the virus, yes. So I'm not saying the world is not a scary place. The world is a scary place at some level. But the world having certain threats or having certain aspects about the world that may make us fearful, being caught in our anxious mind is not helping us. That's actually stopping us from being constructive and finding a way through that. It's actually blocking our intelligence, our wisdom, our ability to cope. It's actually blocking the calm mental states that would get us through, that would make rational and good decisions, or just stay calm and experience. But we believe the anxiety is real, and we believe the anxiety is related to the thing out there. And then we get caught in that because it's a storm, because it's crashing over us, because there's a whole lot of mental and physical triggers around it. And once it's set off, like the storm, you've got to wait till it passes. So again, same with anger or anything. I'm not saying there's not a reason to be angry or that bad things don't happen externally to us. What happens is if we get stuck in those mental states, the octopus tentacles on our mind, and it's stuck on that angry object or that object we fear, it's a mental object. And it takes us away from being in a calm state, in a state that we can actually deal with what's going on around us. So you can see there's a difference. We get too distracted by the storm and we forget about there's a calm, deep, still mind there to access and to experience even in hard times. Same with if we've got an angry mind. We might get caught in an angry mind and we have all of these negative thoughts all of the time and we're thinking, oh, people don't like me. I don't like anybody. Everybody just annoys me. Everybody, and then paranoia starts. See, they're looking at me funny. They don't like me. I don't want to talk to them. I might say something to upset them. And we stay stuck in this space. And then people see us and they probably think, oh, she doesn't seem very friendly or nice. We'll just keep going. Because you're stuck in anger. And of course then that's going to become your reality because you're projecting out from that space. And then you might snap at somebody and before you know it, you're in the anger drama. If you shifted your mind off and it gets stuck on anger, the tentacles are strong. If you could see that anger itself was the mental object that you were holding on to, and you could let it go, then you'd probably be more relaxed and open, and people would, and your relationship would flow a lot better. So we've just got to come understand our part, our role in it, and our ability to shift the focus of our mind. Our ability to shift the focus of our mind to more reality. And just back to what I said about anger or anxiety, is we exaggerate. I think, again, the toilet, and not, people did what they did in the pandemic, and I'm not having a go, but they weren't just buying 4 or 5 rolls of toilet paper, people were buying 20, 30, 40 rolls. And again, it's a good example because it shows an exaggerated point of view. From their point of view at that time, that seemed a really reasonable thing to do, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. It seemed really reasonable. But you can see it. It's quite an exaggerated thing to do at that time. So our minds will exaggerate. And there's something you can check up yourself. If you're anxious or angry or overly obsessed with a desire object, person or food or thing, just examine your own thoughts about that thing, the object that you're projecting that desire or anger or anxiety on, and examine some of the thoughts around it. And really see, do they accord with reality or are they sort of exaggerated? Is that thing going to bring you every happiness, the thing you have to have, that person or place or thing? Is it really going to bring you every sort of happiness? Or can you see that the happiness you're trying to project on it is somehow a little bit exaggerated? Because, it will, or is the anger towards that person, when we're angry towards somebody, we are so convinced in our own story and we project that onto the person. They have their own view and their own side and their own story. From our side, it's easy to exaggerate. It's easy due to hurt or to expectation, And I'm not saying that there's not a reason to be angry, but getting stuck in the anger, and staying stuck in that exaggerated, angry place, because all you can do is then act from that. If your mind, all of our actions come from our states of mind. We don't just act. We always think before we act. And if your mind is caught up in a big storm of discursive thoughts, then your actions are going to follow from that basis. Yes, so, and again, we can sit and and another thing about especially anxiety, or another good thing to do, if you are really caught in a mental state and you can recognise, oh, that's anger, or that's anxiety, or that's, too much desire. And often when we feel the negative ones, say anxiety or anger, what we normally want to do, they often seem to feel here, we often want to run away from them because they're crashing on us, they're so powerful, so forceful. Normally what we want to do is actually, we want to watch Netflix, we want to sedate ourselves to them. We want to go shopping, or we want to have a coffee with a friend, or we want to do something, take a pill, take a drink. They feel so overwhelming. The last thing we want to do is have to be alone with that mind. Often that's how we feel. We just think, God, get me away. I've got to do something. I'll go see my friend. I'll go to the movies. I'll do something. I'll keep myself busy. Then I won't have to feel or think about what's happening in my mind. So really as meditators, what we want to do is think, wow, this is excellent. This is the time I should stop and really engage my mind. See what's going on. This is the best time. Now remember, these are thoughts. It's not really a man with an axe coming for you. It might feel like that. This is your mind, and it feels like it's heavy and ugly, and you don't want to face it. But the alternative is it keeps getting heavier and uglier, and you keep doing things to distract you, which often aren't even very helpful either. Especially with anxiety, we feel, I can't go there, I get overwhelmed, my heart will start racing, and then I feel even more out of control. So if we've done a bit of an analysis before, like we were talking about, if you can question your mind, okay, mind, is this for real? Are you a bit exaggerated here? Take a bit of power back, push back. Or, you're just thoughts. You're not real. You are the boogeyman. And if you buy overwhelmed, you will do actions that you regret. So by taking the power back and say, I'm just going to sit with you, mind, and I'm going to stare you down. I'm going to see what you're all about. Do your worst. Because the reality is it can't really do that much to you. We think it can. If you stay calm and sit with that mind and see what happens, and it starts to feel, a bit uncomfortable. Oh, okay, that's all right. Just sitting here. Emotions might come. Oh, that's okay, that's an emotion. That's nice. Oh, it's a really negative one. That's nice too. I'm just sitting here. Nothing bad's happening. Oh, that emotion disappeared. Oh, that's nice. Oh, another one's come up. Hello, emotion. It's an emotion. I'm overwhelmed with thoughts. Okay, I'm overwhelmed with thoughts. No. The more you sit with your mind and look at what's happening to it. And what is that mind doing? It is. Emotions will come up, thoughts will come up. But then what happens? So these emotions and thoughts are very fleeting. And when we don't engage them, when we don't string one to the other, which we do in a narrative, they are just emotions and they are just thoughts. Generally pretty unconnected. It's a thought. It's an emotion. There's no narrative. There's no judgment. There's no criticism. There's nobody watching. There's no boogeyman in my mind. It's just me sitting with my mind. And at first it can seem overwhelming, but if you're in the narrative of it, yes, that's what anxiety is. You're in the narrative, oh my God, that is going to be so bad, and when that's bad, all the fears come up. But if you can just watch, and breathe through it, question it, it's impermanent, it'll slowly disappear. It won't last. Talk to it. We can start to take some power back in our minds. And really that's, when our minds are very discursive and very busy, that's sort of what meditation's about. Starting to get to know our mind. And all of us are habituated to different kinds of delusions. Some people are more angry. Some people chase desire experiences more. Some people hold a lot of pride. Some people are naturally anxious and quite fearful. These are all very human and normal conditioned states. But it's just starting to learn about what's your go-to negative emotion. What is your go-to negative emotion? That's what you can examine for yourself. And learn about yourself. And the next time when, relationships are bad or friendships fall apart, you think, oh, well, maybe I have got something to do with that as well. Maybe the way, my mind is coloured by anger, and I do project out a lot of judgment and criticism. Maybe I could check that a little bit. Or maybe I have a lot of desire in my mind. And maybe that's impacting my relationships. Maybe the expectation I put on others is too high, that they need to please me, that they need to be my world. And if they aren't, I get upset, or my expectation gets hurt. Are these exaggerated mind states that you are producing and projecting out? And therefore you have a part to play in what's happening in your life. Are these mind states that you can check? Okay, I like that person. Yeah, that person is attractive person. We seem to have a lot in common. There is no way any one person will ever fulfill all of your needs in life, ever. Is that a realistic expectation? And was I expecting that from that person? Check the reality, the validity of your thoughts. because actions will come from those thoughts, and then either disappointment or pain, hurt, fear will come back to you from them as well. So it's, this is what meditation's about, really starting to unpick and to really think, analyse, contemplate, and then test out the theory. That personal responsibility. We're very much a society of blaming and finger pointing. I think social media has made that the public square, very opinionated. We're really just responsible for our own minds. It's really only our own minds we've got control of. And often, if there's a lot of storming going on the surface of our mind, we don't even have control of our minds. And the people who've got very stormy minds are the ones that are lashing out at others on social media with opinions, judgments, criticisms. If you've got a calm state of mind and you're very happy and peaceful, I don't really care what other people think, or even what you think. It's just, you can let it go. Because you can let go of your own tentacles, of your own anger, of your own desire, of your own jealousy. So really, that's what meditation is about. It's about wanting to come to a calm state of mind, experiencing the calm state of mind, and to calm down that surface of the mind, to still it down. So I thought tonight we'd do 2 meditations. And what we'll do is, again, we'll do the 9-round breathing meditation. So this meditation is a really good meditation to do at the beginning of your meditation, and then you can move on to doing your main meditation. Now, it's okay for your meditations not to be very long. If you're finding, your mind is quite whipped up, so you can choose what sort of meditation you might do. That might be a day where you just examine. You might have been a bit angry, so you might want to sit down with your mind and examine. Ask yourself some questions. Find out what's going on in my mind. If you're finding you're having a quite a good day and everything's right, that's where you might want to sit with meditations that are more just sitting with your mind and just letting the thoughts go. So that's practicing letting the thoughts go rather than getting stuck on the thoughts. We get so stuck on those thoughts. We love those thoughts. We love the story, the ego story around those thoughts. That person wronged me so badly. So meditation is about letting it all go. And mindfulness is about being not with the what ifs happen and the world's going to end and I'm overwhelmed with that fear, but what is happening in this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment. If you examine this moment, the world isn't ending because your mind is full of this moment. You've replaced your anxiety with this moment. Mindful of this moment. Yes, so I said we'll do the 9-round breathing meditation. So this is a really good meditation to start, because the idea of this meditation is that it just naturally stills the mind from a lot of those discursive thoughts. Because in this meditation we use our mind not to get stuck on our anger or whatever. We use our mind to imagine we're expelling all of those negative thoughts out. So instead of being stuck on them, we're clearing our mind. So this is really to calm the mind and to really clear and still the mind. So I'll talk you through it when we do it, but just to explain it so you're familiar with what we're talking about. So we imagine that we have an energy channel, or 3 energy channels in this meditation. And we have one that starts, our main one, from between our eyebrows and wraps around our head like an umbrella handle and runs down the front of our spine, and it ends just about 4-finger width below our navel. And they say it's the size of medium bamboo, so I'm thinking about that pole, and it runs down there. So it wraps all around our head and around like an umbrella. And then we have 2 more channels that run from our left and right nostril, and again they follow the line of the other one, and they're a lot thinner. They're like 2 wheat straws, thin straws, very thin straws. And the right one is red and the left one is white. So this is the 9-round breathing. So we start with our right nostril and we'll breathe in through our right nostril, and then we imagine all of it's filling with light, the whole channel, the right channel. And then when it gets to this one meet up, it goes into the left and it comes right out our nostril. So we do that 3 times on the right, and then we do it 3 times on the left, and then we breathe into both nostrils, and when it comes down below our belly button, the 2 side channels go into the central channel, and then we bring it up and we blow at the air through our nostrils again. So that's a visualization that we'll do, and I'll lead that. And then so we'll make a start. So just get yourself ready, give yourself a little bit of a shake. Take some deep breaths. Okay, and now, so visualise those channels. You've got your central one from your mid-brow, running up along to the crown of your head, and then straight down, 4 finger widths below your navel, and then a right and left channel, following the same line and ending curved into each other. So they all 3 meet at the end. So now first taking a breath from your right nostril, and white light, it's bringing white, beautiful, cleansing light, and it completely fills your energy channel. And when you breathe in, big breath in, you push, the air goes into your left channel, and as you breathe out, you're breathing out all black smoke, and that's all of your longing, desire and attachments are expelled. So you do that 3 times. So breathe in white light, cleansing, pure light, healing energy, calming, and it goes into your left energy channel and it pushes out all your discursive thoughts around desire, exaggerated desire. All of those mind states form into black smoke, and you push them out through your left nostril. And so feel that you're really getting rid of those exaggerated mind states that have caused you so much pain and suffering. Now onto your left side. Breathe in white light. Completely fills that left energy channel. It passes through into the right energy channel, and all of your anger, all your exaggerated minds of anger, those heavy, discursive thoughts regarding anger, form into black smoke and fill that channel, and then the white light pushes it out as you breathe out. And those mind states completely leave you. So now do that 3 times. Now breathe in both nostrils together, and the white light fills both channels, and the channels are completely clean and pure. Light energy. And both ends of the channels, the left and right, enter into the end of the central channel. And all of your ignorant mind states, all of the ignorance that stops you, that keeps you caught in those negative mind states, that keeps you not thinking, not experiencing the clear mind, form in black smoke. And then as you breathe out, you push out all of those ignorant mind states in the form of black smoke through both nostrils. Okay. If you've finished your 9 rounds, with that meditation, don't push it too hard. Just do it once and be happy with how you did it. So always after meditation, never say, oh, that was a bad meditation. You know, we can always, our concentration, yes, can always be better, and, you know, but meditation is us engaging our minds. So always just be really grateful that you've done something positive for your mind. There's no way that meditation is going to be bad for your mind. No matter how hard you found it because your mind was distracted, that's fine. That's not bad. That's just you recognizing your mind's distracted. So always never give yourself a hard time about your meditation. I can't do it, it's too hard, I don't know what I'm doing. Just stick with it. It's learn as you go, you know. It's your mind, it's your relationship. You know. It's really where you need, you know, stop, not have the judgments and the expectation. And if you do, use that as your meditation. Oh, I just noticed I was judging, I should be better. Okay, that's something I learnt about myself. I put a lot of expectation on myself. What does that do for my mental states, I wonder? That's quite heavy. Is that why I feel a bit weighed down all the time? Just curious. You know. Okay, so we've got some time. We'll move on to the next meditation. So this meditation, we're just going to sit with our minds, and we're just going to be an observer of our mind. And when the thoughts come to our minds, that's where we're just going to recognize a thought. We're just going to stay in the moment of the mind. Now, if you want, you can use your breath. It's okay if you find it's easier to count breaths because your mind gets too distracted. That's okay too, because the breath then acts as an anchor. It is something. Your mind always will have an object. So the breath is a really good meditational object because it's so neutral. It's also not coloured. It's also similar to mind in that there's no actual colour or object. It's just the breath. So that's okay if you find your mind gets too busy. It's okay to just count breaths. The breath coming and going from the tip. Otherwise, if you're a bit more, if you feel you can sit with your mind and then just be present mindfully with your mind. If you find yourself getting caught up in your thoughts, that's okay too. Just notice it and then take the tentacles off. Pull back and then place your attention on your mind. Okay. All right, so we'll try that. Okay, we'll leave it there. All right. Okay, so we've got some time if people have any questions. Happy to answer them. Yes. How do you make children understand that their thoughts aren't real? I mean, I think there are some very good meditation programs now for children, Smiley Minds, and some of those apps that help children. I think with children, because they're a bit sponge-like and curious, I think it's not like the thoughts aren't real, it's like the thoughts may be exaggerated. Or, they may be, I guess it's about talking to them about their experience. Kids are very perceptive, I think. Especially if it's around fears, children can have a lot of fears. So it's about testing that out, I guess, with them. Finding out what their fears are and then showing them that it may be exaggerated, I think we can't pretend there's not things not to be afraid of, or bad things can happen, but it's that way our mind is able to process and manage that, that resilience, rather than getting on a trip of, that fear is going to be overwhelming and it's happening to me now when it's not actually happening. So I would say with children, and I'm no expert with children, it's really just exploring, just as you do with yourself. If you're doing it with yourself, kids are very perceptive. Or the white, maybe it's the white light meditation. You can breathe in and calm your mind. That's another way to try different things as well. Talk about it, but also, those meditations, the deity meditations or the white light meditations, they're cognitive states within our minds. We're shaping our mind with those meditations, whether you believe in one power or whatever you believe, but if it's this idea of its purity and its love and its calming, it really does have that effect on the mind. As we know, the mind will appear in whatever you put in front of it. You're putting lots of scary thoughts, it's going to just go that way. But if you're putting nice, some power to calm the mind as well, It's a bit of control back, I think, isn't it? But yeah, no expert on children, so... and no expert at all. These, I just, what I read, what I've been to teachings, what I experiment with myself in my own mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess, it's that thing of, again, there's lots of different things. They could, again, chemotherapy is filling your body with all of those poisons, but you're doing it to get well. So, again, that white light, just a simple, that why this is happening, that you have a healing light that's, coming in as well, that's healing and strengthening your body. And that, you can imagine all that, that chemo's going in and finding the target and killing off those negative mind states, so that you can do those sorts of transformational type meditations. Their idea is to transform your thinking and transform those aspects of your mind by thinking, really feeling into that. Because you could sit there for 2 hours being freaked out that, poison's being pumped into you or that your cancer's not going to go. I mean, you could, that could be really overwhelming. So you try and work with those, in a way you've got no control how the chemo's going to go and how your body's going to respond. I think often you have no control of that. But you do have control of what you're thinking about at that point. And then you can try and turn that into something really positive, or healing, or, helping the mind stay calm. And again, whatever that person is, where they're at, it's going to really depend on where they're at. They might not want to hear any of that. That's a whole lot of rubbish. They might be better listening to music or reading a book. It's something that takes their mind off the worry and the panic, I would think. But, we're all different things sing to different people, It's hard with knowing what's good for other people sometimes. But we can try. Any other questions? Well, thank you, everybody. It was a really lovely energy in here with the meditation. You can feel the very peaceful and calm mind states. Thank you.